It is officially NFL Draft Week, and on today's show, Adam Schefter of ESPN dropped major rumors around the NFL Draft and nuggets and news, and the Miami Dolphins were certainly impacted and mentioned by Adam Schefter. We'll talk about it on today's show. I am Nic Rohloff. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports, and what three topics we're going to discuss on this episode is, one, there's a lot of steam picking up right now about Kelvin Banks Jr., the offensive lineman from Texas, being a strong suitor to go to the Dolphins at number 13. A player we've talked a lot about in Jahdae Barron. Is he going to be off the board before Miami picks at 13? And plus, a possible trade down from 13 to 20 with the Denver Broncos. We'll discuss all of that. But make sure you subscribe, not only for rumors leading up to the draft, but for our live draft coverage. We'll be live for all 3 days, all 7 rounds. We'll have live reactions and analysis of every Dolphins pick. Plus, we'll be giving out Dolphins draft grades. Hit that sub button for the top Dolphins YouTube coverage around the NFL draft. We're 360 subs away from 69,000. All right, let's see what Adam Schefter said. We'll start here with both a Banks and Barron kind of report combined, because a pair of Texas players, offensive tackle Kelvin Banks Jr. and cornerback Jahdae Barron, have generated less talk than some of the other prospects at their positions, but both are in position to go higher than some people realize, with Banks being in play for Miami at 13 and Barron being linked to the Jets at number 7. And we're going to start with Kelvin Banks because I find this stuff very interesting that I wouldn't say it's been quiet around Banks in Miami. He was a similar mock draft projection about a month and a half, 2 months ago. But then as the offseason progressed, there was a lot of DB talk, whether it's safety and corner. But now it feels like a week to go. We're back to Banks in the offensive line. He's also not the only one saying this, Adam Schefter, because Todd McShay tweeted out on Monday morning that he has heard a lot about Kelvin Banks being a strong possibility for the Dolphins at 13. So that's now 2 tapped-in people saying Banks to Miami is a legit possibility Thursday night. And we've talked about Banks as a prospect, but let's revisit him because he played left tackle for the Texas Longhorns last season, but some people project him to be a guard at the next level. His height, 6'5", 315, so there is that possibility of him moving inside, and the arm length being 33 inches and a half, well, average arm length in the NFL is 34 inches, but the baseline's 33, so he's more than capable playing outside. But obviously, if you drafted Kelvin Banks, you would project him to be an inside player because you have Patrick Paul, who is a prototypical offensive tackle, as your left tackle replacing Teron Armstead. So if you grab Kelvin Banks in the draft, you are likely going to have him play either left guard or right guard, depending on if you want to put him next to Patrick Paul or move James Daniels there and Kelvin Banks in between Austin Jackson and Aaron Brewer. And this is a very fascinating topic to discuss because a lot of us this offseason said the number one priority for Miami is improving the trenches, whether it's protecting Tua Tagovailoa in the passing game or creating a good enough offensive line that translates to November, December, January football, where you can be more of a smash mouth running football team in between the tackles and not have as bad as a rushing attack as you did last season, especially in the red zone and in short yardage situations. But you do have to ask yourself, is Kelvin Banks the right pick at number 13, despite us needing another left guard? Before I talk more about that, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. We showed the RAS. We showed the stats from Banks last season. Should Miami take him at 13? Type D for draft or type P for pass? I am slightly skeptical of the Dolphins ultimately taking Kelvin Banks with that 13th over a pick. I like him as a prospect. I think he's a absolute no-doubt first-round guy. And O-line, specifically either left guard or right guard, depending on where you want to play James Daniels, is a need. But considering your other needs at defensive line, corner, safety, is Kelvin Banks the right pick with the 13th overall selection? Well, I do want to quickly look back at what Miami has on this front line right now because we still have that left guard spot as something that needs to be filled. You signed James Daniels to a 3-year, $24 million deal in free agency. We know that Liam Eichenberg cannot be the starter this year for Miami, and Daniels can either play left guard or right guard. So maybe you do end up putting Daniels at left guard if you drafted Banks and put him at right guard, but I don't know if it's the smartest thing to have Banks be that 13th pick, but also be your starting left guard. And this is legit skepticism to me. And if you guys agree, let me know. If you disagree, let me know in the comments as well. But I'm high on Patrick Paul. I think he's going to be good for Miami. But he will be a first-time starting left tackle. And if you drafted Kelvin Banks to play him at left guard, that is now a first-time starting left tackle and a first-time player moving to guard. So you have a first-time guard, that's a rookie, at left guard, and a first-time starting left tackle. That does not inspire a lot of confidence for me, despite the need being addressed through the draft. So if you did draft Kelvin Banks, I would actually be more inclined to play him at right guard and move the veteran James Daniels to left guard because he is more than capable playing that spot as well as right guard. All right, we're going to get to Jahdae Barron here in just a second. But we are sponsored by Mando, the whole body deodorant that I trust. And with the weather warming up, I'm just fired up because I like going golfing with the homies, playing basketball outside. And I'm looking forward to it even more because I've started using Mando whole body deodorant because unlike some other brands I've tried, it can actually handle anything. Clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, the average man's grundle odor level is a 5 out of 10. With Mando, the average grundle odor level is a 0 out of 10. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, plus free shipping. And I have my favorite product they have in studio with me today. That is the deodorant wipes. I do not go anywhere without these deodorant wipes. Whether I'm going running errands, where I'm traveling via plane, via car, if I feel like I need to freshen up while I'm on the go, the deodorant wipes are the perfect product for me. And I would suggest you get some today too. And as a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code CHAT. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you use code CHAT at shopmando.com. shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. All right, let's move over to another Texas Longhorn here, this being Jahdae Barron, the defensive back. Is he going to be off the board? Now, if you have watched the content we have put out over the past couple of weeks, you would know that this has been an increasing likelihood. We actually did a video just at the end of last week talking about how Jordan Reed of ESPN reported and wrote on Barron likely going ahead of the Michigan cornerback, Will Johnson, because there's been 3 teams linked to Jahdae Barron quite a bit. The Las Vegas Raiders at number 6 overall has been a team linked to him. Our own Mitchell Renz of the Raiders Report keeps on telling people in the Chat Sports office that if the Raiders went with a surprise pick at number 6, he thinks it would be Jahdae Barron. But I do anticipate them going with either one of Armand Membou or Ashton Genty. But you just heard from Adam Schefter link Barron to the Jets at 7. New York is kind of a sneaky team, even though if Membou's on the board, I think they would go with the Missouri offensive lineman. And the 49ers have been linked to Jahdae Barron as well. All 3 of these teams pick ahead of Miami on the first night of the NFL draft. And I do want to go back to my big board here because we're talking about Barron, we're talking about Banks. I have Jahdae Barron as my 4th overall guy. I don't think Will Campbell or Membou slide, but those are the 2 offensive linemen I have for the Dolphins ahead of Barron. But I also have Will Johnson as my number 1 guy. You see Kelvin Banks slide in here at my number 7 overall prospect. So despite there being a lot of rumors connecting Banks to Miami via McShay and Adam Schefter, I still would have him behind both corners, the other 2 offensive linemen, if they somehow slip, and even Kenneth Grant from Michigan. But going back to Jahdae Barron here, I do really like him. I think he's versatile. He played a lot of snaps at nickel, safety, the box, corner on the outside for the Longhorn defense over his 5-year career. Will Johnson is primarily just an outside corner, but that's exactly what Miami needs. They need that 6'2" physical guy that can play press, that can play zone on the perimeter, especially with Jalen Ramsey potentially being on the outs. So if the Dolphins ultimately draft a corner in the first round at pick number 13, I still prefer it to be Michigan's Will Johnson. All right, let's move over to the final topic on today's show, and that is a potential trade back with the Denver Broncos. The Broncos picked 20th in the draft, and according to Adam Schefter, they are one of the lone teams that have expressed interest in trading up. Here's the exact quote. There has been a lack of teams willing to trade up, or at least so far, but Denver is one of those. The Broncos have made inquiries about moving up in round 1, according to sources, but there aren't many others. This always could change when players start falling and teams are on the clock. And although it was not mentioned directly that Miami could be a team that was contacted about a potential trade with the Denver Broncos, it makes a lot of sense, in my opinion, for it to be Miami, and I think it could be perfect for the Dolphins to pull this off. When you think of who the Broncos could be trading up for, there's a lot of buzz between Amari and Hampton, the running back from North Carolina, a lot of buzz about Colston Loveland or Tyler Warren, the two top tight ends in this draft class. Well, at 14, Indianapolis is linked to a tight end, so it could be Denver trying to move up ahead of them for a Loveland or a Warren. But you also know about Dallas's pursuit of a running back. Now they pick ahead of Miami, but maybe the Broncos want to get in that mix for Hampton, the North Carolina RB. So if the Dolphins traded back with Denver on draft night, this is what a draft trade could look like. I'm only doing picks in this year's draft. The Dolphins received the 20th pick and Denver's second round pick, which is the 51st overall selection. Miami gives up 13 and they only trade 116 and 150. That's one of their fourth round picks and one of their fifth round picks. So in total, Miami would trade back 7 spots in round 1, pick up a second round pick, ditch 1-4 and ditch 1-5. And I got to be honest, I like this scenario. If the Dolphins traded back with Denver in night 1 of the draft, you can move back from 13 to 20, get one of your guys on the offensive line or defensive line, whether it's a Gray Zabel from North Dakota State, a Kelvin Banks from Texas, a Kenneth Grant from Michigan, or a Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. You can grab a trench player at 20, pick up potentially their second round pick at 51, and have 48 and 51 in the second round to address a defensive back in trenches again. To me, this is a realistic situation that if Denver wanted to trade up from 20 to 13, Miami and Chris Grier should be all ears because they can grab a big-time player at a position at need at 20 and get more draft capital in the second round to add more talent to a roster that desperately needs it. So if this trade was on the table for Miami on Thursday, April 24th, would you do this trade? Type A if you would accept it. Type D if you would decline. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. And I know we talked about Kelvin Banks being a strong possibility for Miami at 13, and there's no guarantee he would be on the board at 20, but there's at least a 50-50 chance he would be. So I am more than willing to move back because I am willing to guarantee with my life that you would be able to get one of these 5 guys at pick number 20. And I would not complain about that one bit. And I know some fans would be disappointed with no Will Johnson or Jahdae Barron potentially in that trade down situation, but you'd be able to target one of these day 2 corners, maybe a Trey Amos, a Siobhan Revel, a Benjamin Morrison, an Azariah Thomas. So that is an option for Miami. And with 2 second-round picks, if you went with say you went Kenneth Grant, or say, you know what, let's say fun, you went offensive line trading back with 20, and you went Kelvin Banks or Zabel. Well, you could go at 48 and 51 an offensive lineman on the interior like Jonas Avayanea from Arizona, and then a defensive lineman like Darius Alexander, TJ Sanders, or Alfred Collins. And you have all 3 of those guys, which would be an incredible draft haul. Plus, you'd still have the 98th pick to go with a DB or double down in the trenches, preferably probably on the defensive side of the ball. I'm very intrigued with the idea of trading down. And if Denver calls you on draft night and offers you that 51st pick, I'm definitely trying to probably take it. It will be unlikely to see if anything ultimately transpires, but I am absolutely all ears. It does sound like a lot of teams are trying to trade down, and if a lot of teams are trying to trade down, well, that means there's not many people trying to trade up. So I'm not sure we will see a ton of draft trades this year due to the fact that it's not the most top-heavy class. There's a lot of talent spread out, so people want to probably just stay with their draft capital and fire their darts to get their guys. But we'll continue to have you covered with every piece of Miami Dolphins news and rumor leading up to Thursday's NFL draft. Video out tomorrow, final mock draft on Wednesday, latest rumors on Thursday morning before we go live on Thursday night. So make sure you subscribe and join us here at Dolphins Today.